Hey everyone, I got an exciting show for you today. I actually have business partners, which is very important, right? Because you can't do this alone, and having business partners that sort of complement you and work together is really awesome. So I have Rochelle and Alisa with me. How you ladies doing this morning?
Good, good. Great.
Excellent. So just real quick, why don't you kind of share a little bit about who you are, where you are, and then we'll sort of get into the questions.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for having us on. This is awesome. This is actually our third podcast this month, so it's pretty exciting.
Nice.
But yeah, so we're full-time real estate investors based out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And we are prairie girls with a global mindset, we always say. So in the next few months, we're actually going to be expanding into the States, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, I don't know. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, if most of your listeners are American, just to give a frame of reference to where we are, you know how there's kind of that Montana and North Dakota up north? We're
Yep.
north of that.
North of that,
So,
okay.
yeah, so it's just damn cold.
Alyssa, I love that. It's just damn cold.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then Prairie Girls with a worldwide mindset. I really like that. And let's talk about mindset. We'll just go there first because, real estate investing in relationships and all of that's important. But I believe it does start with mindset. So
100%.
I like that. You want to sort of poke at that a little bit and talk about why mindset's important?
Sure, if you don't bring a growth mindset to anything to do with business or real estate, pretty much anything you touch, you're not going to go as far as your full potential will let you. Like your mindset's your whole foundation.
Yeah, for us, I mean, when we first started, we legit started with nothing. Like Alisa used her divorce money, her divorce settlement money to pay for our rich dad education, right? We legit started with zero. So you're zero cash, zero credit. And our family and friends are telling us we're crazy, that it's never going to work. And what the hell are you doing? And, 2 years later, we're quitting our jobs and people are just like, you guys are insane. But we saw it. And, and you nailed the nail on the head there, hit the nail on the head with having a partner who complements you. Because I honestly look at it like that was the gift for us because we are a good balance and we get that a lot of times, right? And it's super awesome that way. But if we didn't continually strive to keep growing and educating, be it with books, be it with surrounding ourselves with high level people, coaching, classes, all of it, like we wouldn't be where we are today for sure.
Yeah. And there's so much in that, what both of you just outlined that I want to unpack. First and foremost, starting with nothing, right? Right. That's always, there's so many people out there that say, can you really do this thing starting with nothing? And, we've done 75 or 80 interviews in the last 90 days on this channel, and more than half started with nothing. But let's do it again. So what exactly is nothing in for you? And then, what'd you do first?
Well, before I became a business owner, I was a single mom who was doing high voltage power line construction. So talk about going from left field to a home run. And it just ended up happening. Like Rochelle said, I had this opportunity called a divorce happening. And literally the exact amount of money I was going to receive from this opportunity was either that direction in life where I was going to just put a down payment on a house, on a vehicle, and keep going with my life. Or after knowing Rochelle for 7 months, invest in us, mindset and education, and see what kind of limits we could push. So that really is that nothing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for myself, actually how we got to meet, it's a long story, but Alisa actually helped me build a basement suite in my personal residence. Because I bought my first house when I was 20, but it was a 5-bedroom house and I had lived shared accommodation style for 8 years. And I was like, okay, I don't want to share my bathroom and kitchen anymore. So I bought a little house where I could build a basement suite, but I worked 80 hours a week. I worked 2 full-time jobs. So I didn't have time to work on the suite. So anyway, we met in school. After school, I mentioned I was building this basement suite and Alyssa's like, I'm going to come help you. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, within that month, we worked so well together that it just blew my mind. And we were working, 15 hours a day. It was a heat wave. It was insane, right? So most things that break up relationships and friendships, I think it forged our friendship in steel,
Yeah. Yeah. Fire does that, right? It could tear you apart, burn you down, or it could make you stronger. And it certainly sounds like that, working together in the heat of the moment really helped you too. So we don't really get the opportunity to talk to partners a lot. So I'd love to sort of, usually what happens, and if this isn't the case, so be it, but usually you have your core strengths, right? And where you complement the yin and yang or whatever you like. You want to break that down, kind of how, your main focus and then how you complement each other, so we can sort of see that picture.
Sure. We always say that if you look at Rochelle and I individually, you would never guess the two of us are very good friends or business owners together. What joins us, though, is that underlying integrity, morals, values, that is so much the same, so much joined. Like, for example, I'm huge into being outdoors, and I'm huge into, I have animals and I have a kid and, all these things. And Rochelle isn't into the outdoors, and
like the exact opposite of that. So I don't, like, I have one plant at home because I'm too stubborn to die. Like, that is legit.
Too stubborn to die. Oh, I like that. All right. That's very cool. So, is it fair to say that Rochelle does most of the traveling then, given you have responsibilities with your child and whatnot?
Absolutely. Yeah. My son is 12 right now. And of course, everybody is always concerned when they have babies. That's when they want to be there all the time. Me, I wasn't so much like that. Now that he's 12, I really want to be there for him, because to me, those are the most monumental years for his foundation, his mindset, everything. Yeah. And I really hope to, raise a decent person. If he stays out of prison and doesn't knock anybody up, it's a slam dunk.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I can tell you, being around when he's 12 is an important time, right? That's where, as a man, right, was once a boy, that's where we can go sideways. So good for you. So let's talk about your business, right? What is keeping you busy in today's business? Obviously, we know Rochelle's traveling, right? She's all over the place. But what is the business that you two are in?
So we are, like I mentioned, active real estate investors based in Saskatoon. And what we do, again, because we started with nothing, we knew from the get-go that we had to get very good with creative financing, because how are we going to use OPM, other people's money, right? And that's all we had to work with, was how do we get other people to give up their cash and credit? And so obviously we had to create win-win opportunities. And so for us, that again goes back to that moral integrity and underlying principles and such. But for us, even when we go and do a lowball offer on a property from a distressed owner, when we give the offer, we literally say, like, if this does not feel right here, don't take it. Because at the end of the day, we don't want people to go around saying, oh, Epic Alliance screwed me over. And I'm like, no, it needs to be win-win. And, like, if it doesn't feel right, just don't do it. And so for us, we literally do go in with the best intentions to help people. But at the end of the day, it is a business, right? We are not a charity. And so we explain that, right? And again, communication is number one. But essentially everything that we do, it just has to fit in that model. So it's, we've literally started in year one, flipping one house. We did 70% of the work ourselves. We were both working full time at that point in time. Because of our training, it went like amazing. It was like textbook, it was brilliant. And then year two, we flipped 2 houses. And our goal has always been to keep growing. And so, we're like, what a good benchmark. Let's double our portfolio every year. So anyway, fast forward, year 3, we ended at over $5 million worth of properties we control. End of year 4 was controlling over 12 million. And we just ended 2018, which is the end of year 5, controlling over $32 million worth of real estate.
Wow. That's a long way from one flip.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations, ladies. But let's break that down at least a little bit, right? So controlling $32 million in properties. Lots of questions pop in my mind. Are any of these kind of buy and hold and you're keeping forever, or all these just in different phases of a flip? Or, what is that kind of, what is the pie? If the pie is 32 million, how does it break down?
Yeah. Well, we're going to give you our favorite answer. It depends.
Oh, you're an economist, you're a lawyer. I love it.
No, it's so true though, because honestly, one of the things about a property, when you look at it, it's not just the money, and the numbers, but it's land. We're big on the land. What can you do with it? Where can it go? What are the opportunities? Where's your city going? There's so many variables when you look at real estate. People get hung up because I think part of that reason is right now the big focus is on mostly flipping, right? Like when you see the TV shows, when you look at things, a lot of it is to do with flipping properties. So that's a quick in, quick out. A lot of our strategies are typically longer term because we're visionaries. We see big picture. What does it look like when you control 10 blocks of real estate? What does it look like when you control 30 blocks of real estate? You know, what can you change? What can you do with that? And I think that's something that gets lost to people.
So Alisa, let's again break that down. I'm with you, right? I believe true wealth comes from control a lot longer than weeks or months, right? Which is the weeks is wholesaling, flipping is months. All of that's active income. No matter how you slice it, it's all active. And it's a job, right? And it's freaking a hard job. So tell me more about controlling 32 million of inventory blocks of land. Are we talking true land, i.e. no structures? Or are you saying, hey, we go into a 5-city block and we try to buy every darn thing we can? What does that mean?
So our business has really evolved just based on circumstances and the market, right? Why we were flipping 5 years ago is because it was a seller's market. It was high. That's when you flip, right? Now, 5 years later, it's a complete buyer's market. Flipping does not generally make sense because the margins are tighter. There's not as many buyers, right? So that's where we basically switched up our model, where we're just now trying to gain control of as much property as we possibly can, right? But again, we need it to be able to pay for itself.
Yes.
So what we did in this evolution was we created 2 base investing models. So the one is actually called the hassle-free landlord program, right? Which is kind of an oxymoron because generally when people think about being a landlord, it's not hassle-free, right? So again, this is where we used our creative advantage and created this program where it's a win-win, right? We know people want to invest in cash flowing rental properties, but we also appreciate that a lot of people are scared to be a landlord.
Yes.
So this is what we do. We go in with our cash investors for the fund to flip, which is for our higher net worth people who can go on title. They basically are our bank. We don't go to the bank for anything, right? We work with investors to leverage their cash credit or underperforming invested funds, okay? Bringing our education, our model, and then creating these win-win situations. So what we do is we find distressed properties or underperforming properties. We get them at great pricing because we can pay cash and we can close quickly because we have our fund to flip investors. Then we go in, we renovate the property. Some need more renovation than other. We then get it into a performing cash flowing rental property that's safe, sound, and secure for our tenants. We then get the property appraised and then we put it into our inventory for a hassle-free landlord owner. So essentially we flip to ourselves via our investors.
I like it. That's very creative. So on the fund to flip, right? So okay, let's step back. So step 1 is you do marketing and you are attracting motivated sellers, distressed assets, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of
honestly, we've positioned ourselves so well here. Houses come to us.
Okay.
We're like house magnets.
So you're a magnet. That's awesome. Okay. So stuff comes to you. Let's just say it's distressed to walk it through. You then buy that distressed asset at your price. You use your fund to flip investors to go on title and note and deed. You pay them a % interest, for whatever the duration is. Then at some point that asset's performing. Then what you do is you get an appraisal. It's double, triple, whatever it is. Then that investor gets paid off, right? Because you move it to the hassle-free landlord, which I'm guessing somebody else goes on title.
Yeah, so at that point, to qualify as a hassle-free landlord owner, the investor is going to have to put the 20% down and go to the bank for mortgage, right? So those people want to be, they want to own rental properties.
Okay. So that's where the liquidity comes for you. So at that event, they go to the bank, it appraises, it's clean, it's pretty, it smells good, it's already performing. They go get a bank loan and you're cashed out. Now, are you managing it still, or at that point they go on to their own management?
This is where it gets super creative. We actually, in the back end on the paperwork, become that hassle-free landlord investor's tenant, our company. So then we have the right to turn around and sublease it. So by doing that, we can turn around and gain control of the property and do what needs to be done, whether we're dealing with tenants, whether we're dealing with maintenance, whether we're dealing with repairs, it doesn't matter, because we have full control that way. And our investors just get paid a set rent every month from us because we're their tenants, no matter what the actual tenants living in the property do.
Wow. I think I've never heard of this. This is wildly creative and very powerful for investors. I just want to make sure I heard it correctly.
Okay.
Okay. So it comes out. Let's just say it's 200 grand. I go to the bank, get $150,000 first. I put 50K down. It's now in my name. I now give it to you. I lease it to you at, let's just say $2,000, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I get that $2,000 no matter what. Maybe there's a management fee, maybe there's not. I don't know, but
there's not. No, there's not.
So
That's
just the $2,000. Okay.
Yep.
And then what you have the rights to do is you have the rights to sublet that. So you could go get 2,500, $3,000, $4,000, whatever you can get. It then is your responsibility for property management, repairs, fill up, tenant vacancies, evictions, all of that. If the bad stuff happens, you suffer. I get my $2,000 no matter what.
Yes.
Correct.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes, exactly.
Hence, hassle-free.
That's pretty cool. Very nice job, ladies. I've never heard of that in all my travels. That's pretty
created
fun.
it. Yeah. It's our model.
Yeah, time to get to an attorney and I don't know what they call that, copyright or brand.
We're in the process.
It's already
it's already being done.
Yeah. And it'll be done before we get to the States.
Yes, good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Please do.
Yeah.
All right, so that's very cool. So, wow, I'm just blown away. Hassle-free landlord. That's pretty awesome. So, is this? I guess you started in one part of Canada, probably Saskatoon. Hopefully I'm saying that right.
We're in Saskatoon. Yeah. And that is where we run. And it's interesting because some people are like, oh, well, you just got lucky. Right. And I'm like, no. And it was funny. People they have their own mindsets and their own blocks. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that must be what it was. It wasn't the 18 hours a day for the last 5 years. Yeah. Not that at all. Right.
Yeah. Overnight success for 5 years. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. But I just got off a phone call with a potential investor, right? Again, it's a referral from another happy client because that's what we do.
Yeah.
But literally she said why, she said, do you feel like you lucked out because you were in Saskatoon? She goes, what if, she's from Ontario, right? Because we, again, deal with investors all over Canada right now. Once we launch the States, it'll be open to anybody in the States. But she said, do you feel like you would still be able to do your business in Ontario? And I said, 100%. The model would be different because we have to be able to adapt to the market space, right? But yeah, this sounds really, really egotistical, but I'm sorry, we would kill it in any market that we go into because we can diversify and we're really quick on our feet.
Yeah.
No, that's the beauty about real estate is once you get good at what you do, you can do that in any market, assuming there's not the, the crash of the oil thing in the Texas where everybody leaves or, some outside event you can't control. Outside of that very small exception, it can be done anywhere, right? You could have done this in Miami, right? I mean,
and we are coming to the States because again, this is a beautiful model and it duplicates. Like, again, we have very specific ways of how we buy the properties, right? And there's a very specific niche market of tenants that we go after. So we need to make sure that the market supports that. Mm-hmm. But past that, the theory is the same, right? And it's interesting because, we have people that tell us all the time, I've never heard of this before. And how did you come up with this? And again, it came out of a need for us creating win-win situations, right? People have cash and credit all day long. They understand the theory, but they're scared. And so how can we mitigate all the risk for our clients? Again, we're the boots on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't we take all the risk?
Yeah, I totally agree. This is awesome. So there's one thing you said earlier that I want to go back to because I think the people in the States need to hear it. You talked about it going from a seller's market to a buyer's market. I think Canada is a little bit ahead of us in general there, right? We're certainly rolling off a seller's market. To call it a buyer's market today is probably a stretch, but it's coming. So why don't you talk about when that happened and what you did to your buying criteria and all of that? Because I think what you're in is where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. So do you want to take this one?
No, you have that.
So basically, we always are, again, back to our education, right? For real estate cycles, it's wild. Again, I love this stuff because it's so predictable, right? Real estate follows a typical 7 to 8 year cycle. Now, do some of those market times stretch? Yeah, for sure. But it's not unpredictable. It's so predictable, it's sick. When people are like, how did you guys crush it? And how did you do this? We had a 5-year heads up.
Yeah, we saw it coming.
It's crazy. So,
and I think the other thing that people don't do as well is they don't come in and kind of every area, every town, every city kind of has a culture.
Yeah.
And housing falls heavily into that culture. And I'll use Saskatoon because, again, I know it very well.
Yeah.
One of the things that happened when the market was very, very high here, we had like this anomaly happen in like 2008, 2009, where our housing prices doubled and tripled in neighborhoods, literally in 8 months. Like, it was crazy. And so many people came, and there was these builders, right? They came and they're like, you know what, we're going to build these $800,000, $1 million houses because everybody's got all this money and yada, yada, yada. The problem was they didn't learn the culture here. And a lot of people here still believe in stuffing money in jars or mattresses. And so buying $1 million house was way, way beyond, like, to them, a $500,000 house still was ridiculous, right? Just the culture, right?
Yep.
And so a lot of these builders came in, and there's still some of these houses sitting here because nobody's touching them, because nobody goes and buys $1 million house. And so I think that's one of the things when you're reading a market, you literally need to kind of get a feel for the people that are there, because it just, if you don't, you're going to burn yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So one more question about today, and then we'll get back to the earlier stories. I just want to make sure. So you're talking about controlling $32 million in inventory. Is that predominantly wholly in Saskatoon today?
Yeah, right now it is.
Okay.
And then our goal for our business, like I mentioned before, it's always been to double our portfolio. So again, by the end of 2019, we'll be hitting 65 million. And if you keep duplicating that, we're basically 5 years to controlling 1 billion.
Wow. I'm guessing that's going to be more than Saskatoon.
Yes. And this is why we're expanding into the States this year, because the volume you guys have down there is just incredible. Yeah. We've built an amazing system. Yep. And again, this is also why, like, I met you on Facebook, right? I had done a Facebook video. You reached out and said, hey, would you like to be on our podcast? Yep. Which is amazing. And thank you for that opportunity. And that's essentially what we're basically creating. So most of my contacts on Facebook are American people, and I get phone calls and messages from people all the time. How can I invest with you? Yeah. And I'm like, we're not there yet, but just give me 6 months, right? And I'll get back to you. So.
Yeah, you're gonna, yeah. I can't wait to get to the future, but let's go to the past first, because no, you don't start out controlling and crushing, 32 million and basically being the force, the magnet in Saskatoon as you are now for deals. So congratulations. We talked about it a little bit, right? You each had life events. One of you was working 2 jobs. One of you had a divorce. You mutually built a basement together, or a suite, I guess you called it. But why real estate? I mean, what was it about this thing called real estate investing?
Well, honestly, it happened by accident. So back to Rochelle's story, when we're working on this suite, like, Rochelle always tells it the best. I always laugh inside so hard. But she talks about how, like, she's a very focused individual. She knows what the frick she wants, and she wants it now. And, so that doesn't always pair with team members or pair with people well, right? So it was so funny because the two of us came together to build this suite, and she's like, you realize we won't be friends after we do this. Right? And then what happened was, as you stated, fire, right? Like, we're in the fire together. It's going well. I had to tell her no a couple of times. Her head mode, but we corrected that course. It's okay. And from there we went on to basically just, she was brainstorming. She's always brainstorming. And, she's like, hey, Alisa, you're going to be a single mom, or you're a single mom, and you're going to need a house with a basement suite. And maybe we could, get a couple of these houses or flip a couple. It started honestly as something very innocent and very small. Mm-hmm. And then we got educated, and then we got mindset, and it exploded.
That's awesome. I mean, you should say that again, right? You started off, you were it was a hobby, right? In at least the first year, right? One flip together. Then you got educated, then you had mindset. And then, as you shared, right? The growth, the doubling every year is awesome. Wow. Okay. So, so you forged in fire, you complement each other. You have these joint goals. I think you said earlier, but it's bear repeating. It took you 2 years to quit your day jobs.
It took me about a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Alisa took a little bit longer.
Yeah. So you had 2 jobs, as I recall from earlier. Did you quit one before the other?
Yeah. So for myself, like, again, I've always loved working. I've always loved making money. Like, legit, it's crazy. But when I was in high school, like, going to school full time, I had 2 jobs on the side because I hated school so much, but I loved working.
Wow.
And so my reward for going to school was that I got to work. I don't know. I'm twisted, but
listen, you have a problem over there. To your there's a problem over there.
I know. I tell her to relax all the time.
So for me, like I said, an 80-hour work week is not a surprise. So basically what happened was, for me to get into my electrical apprenticeship, I took a $7 an hour pay cut from my other job to get into the electrical apprenticeship. But I knew that it was that short-term pain for long-term gain, because eventually I would be an accredited electrician making 40 bucks an hour, right? So 14 bucks an hour right now, yeah, it's going to hurt for the first couple of years. But you know what? I saw the potential in the future. And so, and I still had to pay my bills and everything. So I started delivering pizzas to make some cash on the side. And then when I started delivering pizza, because that was my part-time job, I was such a beast behind the wheel. They were like, do you just want to work full-time? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I was literally for 8 months working 40 hours a week as an apprentice electrician and 40 hours a week as a pizza delivery driver.
Yeah, I think that qualifies as a machine, cyborg, whatever. I don't know, something. All right. So I always like to talk about the first deal on these. So you remember that first flip at all? Kind of how you found it, what the
like it was yesterday.
All right.
It's hard to forget, being electricians, we actually did a lot of the work ourselves because, again, being tradespeople, we have that kind of advantage over people in this industry, because looking at properties, we can see so much more that's going on. So when we did so much of that property ourselves, it also gave us that advantage for dealing with contractors, understanding literally what is behind a wall. Like it exploded that whole foundation, and it was, we'll never forget those days.
But with that one, like literally, again, because of our education, like, we paid 40 grand for our Rich Dad courses, right?
Yeah.
But we made that back in the first flip.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that, again, they showed us how to go and get pre-foreclosures. So we ended up getting a pre-foreclosure where it was 100 grand below fair market value in a super desirable neighborhood, because again, that's where you want to flip, right? We went in and again, we did 70% of the work ourselves, even though they tell you not to, but we were trying to keep our margins low, right? We went out and got a private money lender. So they funded the whole project, purchase and renovations for 250,000. Again, we did a joint venture on that one. We split the profits, 50-50. Because again, how do you be like, hey, can you just just lend us $250,000?
Yeah, no big deal.
We know what we're doing. We've never done this before, but we can do it. You know what I mean? So we had to do our time, and I always say the proof is in the pudding. So yeah. And so with that one, it was wild though. Like it took us 5 months to flip it, and then we were going to basically, market it and everything. But we did exactly what they showed us in our classes, and we went and put a for sale sign 10 days before it was even done on the property, right? Again, seller's market, right?
Big mistake.
Yeah, it was crazy. The house wasn't even done yet, and we had 2 full price offers, right? And we sold the property for $25,000 more than we had been bargained for, because the market had gone up so high. We had assumed we were going to sell it for $350. We ended up selling it for $375, right? So it was just like textbook amazing. But it was we're very coachable, and we do what we learn, and it just worked out really well because we listened and did what we were taught.
Yeah, and then you repeated that the next year and did 2, and now you control 32 million with goals of so much more. So okay, so fast forward to the future, right? You've already kind of laid out the money goals, or whatever you call that, right? Your path, 5 years to $1 billion, which again is awesome. But why don't we talk about something else than dollars? What do you think that means for people you're impacting, or number of private investors, or how many members of your hassle-free landlording? Or why don't we talk about something else? You've ever thought about how big that has to be?
Yeah, actually all the time. I think that's one of the biggest rewards that we gain when we pair with any of our investors, is because without their why, we can't customize our products for their future. And that is everything to us. I think that's one of the reasons people gravitate to us, because we're refreshing, because it's not a little box and here you go, you're going to do what I tell you with your money. It's, hey, where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? How do you want to do this? And then here's what we'll throw at you, and you see what sticks, right? Yeah. And I think that's lost in a lot of things these days. And it is bigger than us already. Like we already have 30 team members that are part of this vision. And I mean, it amazes me that every year that we achieve more and our brand gets better and bigger, the things that we're going to be able to give back are even going to be that much more, which is huge to both of us. We're already trying to be heavily involved in the community, and taking it further than just, hey, let's just get $1 billion in real estate. That's our goals, take over Saskatoon and then the world, right? That's goals. But if you haven't got these kind of other things to help offset so that you remember why you're trying to achieve those goals, what's the point? A dollar is just a dollar, but if you're not taking that dollar and putting some heart to it, what's the point?
Yeah, I think talking about the investor why is, again, why you two are going to be wildly successful. You and we all see this all the time where people are just talking about the flash or the cash or whatever. I've been in this game long enough, right? Rode the wave up and down and know that is a very short-term mindset and that won't last. What you two are building is going to be pretty special. So congratulations and for execution and being coachable all in the beginning and giving back and all of these things. So I look forward to your eventual entering the US. That's going to be awesome. How could people reach out? Because I imagine some people have looked at what you've already announced or what we've talked about, and they're like, I want to be first in line, right? How can people get a hold of you guys? And please share away. Go ahead.
Okay. So we got lots of ways to get a hold of us. Welcome to the world of technology. Thank goodness. So, there's all the social media. Then there's our office, which is 306-665-4663. Then I have a cell phone, which is 306-717-3351.
And my cell phone number, which again, I legit live on my phone. So the minute people call, I'm there, I'm answering. But my number is 306-717-7848. And then just so people know, I'm going to flash our business card here. Let's see where we are.
Oh, look at that. Epic Alliance.
Yeah. So Epic Alliance Inc. is how we run our Instagram and our Facebook. So very active on there. And then also our website.
Yeah, which is epicallianceinc.com.
Very cool. Well, I want to create some focus for people watching this so they don't just blow you up and want to take you out to dinner or something because, that could happen, I guess. What are you looking for, right? I'm guessing it's private investors and people that want to be part of the fixed fund or the hassle-free fund, but I don't want to speak for you. So why don't you talk about what you're looking for?
Yeah. So one thing I'll definitely clarify right now is I have zero patience, right? Like I do everything fast. Most people can't keep up with me. My brain never stops. Okay. So I don't train well. So we don't coach or mentor people. Okay. Cause that's usually a lot of people reach out and they're like, but teach me what you do. Honestly, I'll probably stab you before you even learn anything. It won't be good. So and Alyssa's smiling cause she knows this is true. but essentially
damage control right here.
But essentially we're looking for people who understand the benefit of investing in real estate, but they don't have the time or the knowledge to do it actively. So whether people have really good employment or really, high net worth, because maybe they have a lot of assets that they can leverage to get working, but essentially it's people who want to invest in real estate, but they want to do it passively, and they understand the benefits of working with somebody who's educated and they have teams and systems and knowledge to back them.
I'm hoping you get several phone calls at least. And then when we do this again, when you come back on, when you're actually in the US, we'll do this again. And whenever that happens. So Alisa and Rochelle, I want to thank you very much for giving me your time. I know you two are very, very busy controlling 32 million on your way to $1 billion. I want to wish you nothing but success. Travel safe, Rochelle. And both of you have a great day. Thank you very much for joining.
Awesome. And thank you for your book.
Oh, thank you very much. You're welcome.
Stay epic.
Stay epic. I like that.